This is the video for section 11.4 Arcs and Chords. Please follow along with your video worksheet. The first section has all of the terms, definitions, and diagrams that I will be using, and the second section has all of the example problems that I will be showing you. Please fill in the worksheet as you watch the video. Let's begin. An arc is a part of a circle. It is measured in degrees. So here we have a circle, and if I want to show you an arc, I need to name a couple of points on that circle. So let's just say A and B. And then if I trace along the circle from A to B, I have arc AB. And when we measure this arc to see how large it is, we measure it in degrees, and when we show that, we put a little m in front of the arc, measure of arc AB, and then we'll fill in a number with how many degrees it is. So this one is about 130 degrees. Moving on, if two arcs are congruent, then their corresponding chords are congruent. So I have another circle here with A, B, C, and D labeled on that circle, and we're going to be given that two arcs are congruent. So they're going to be giving us arc AB is congruent to arc CD. So what that shows us is this arc and this arc are congruent. And then it says if the two arcs are congruent, then their corresponding chords are congruent. So their corresponding chords are the chord from A to B and the chord from C to D. We can mark those congruent, and we show that with segment AB congruent to segment CD. So if two arcs are congruent, then their corresponding chords are congruent. And the converse of that statement, if two chords are congruent, then their corresponding arcs are congruent. So here in this one we have segment XY and segment WZ are two chords of a circle, and they will give us that those two chords are congruent. So segment XY is congruent to segment WZ, and we will show that with marks on the picture. Now if we know that's the case, we can say that the corresponding arcs are congruent. So we can say that this arc and this arc are also congruent, and that would be arc XY is congruent to arc WZ. So again, if two chords are congruent, then their corresponding arcs are congruent. Here's our first example problem. We are given that segment RQ and segment ST are congruent. We know that by the marks on the picture. So by the last statements, we know that this arc RQ and this arc ST are also congruent. So I'm going to set up an algebra problem that says 5x minus 8 equals 112. Solving this, we add 8 to both sides, giving us 5x equals 120. Dividing by 5 on both sides gives us x equals 24 degrees. Now we do measure arcs in degrees, so we want to make sure there is a degree mark on all of our answers. Now our last example problem today says find the missing arc measures. We are given here that segment JK and segment ML, two chords of a circle, are congruent, and by the statements made earlier, that tells us that these arcs, arc JK and arc ML, are also congruent. So because of that, I'm going to label arc ML as 107 degrees. Then we see arc JM. Now if you look really carefully, this segment, JL, is a diameter. So since it's a diameter, all the arcs on one side of that diameter, what I'm tracing in yellow, will add up to 180 degrees. So if I want to find the measure of arc JM, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take 180 and I'm going to subtract off the 107, and that gives me the measure of arc JM, which is 73 degrees. Using that same analogy, the measure of arc KL on the other side will also be 73 degrees. This concludes the video on section 11.4 arcs and chords. Thanks for watching.